Growing up in a Christian household was very interesting. Having an older brother, it would be expected in most other households that there would be fighting often. However, that rarely ever happened in our family. At the time, my father was still a state trooper. My dad had been a first responder for most of his life. I can't really remember a time when he wasn't out working as a law enforcement officer. My dad had always been one of the most supportive people in my life. When he was growing up, his dad was always hard on him. You know, the typical 70s, 80s, hard as iron kind of guy. My father had always had hardships with his dad, so he never wanted us to feel the same way. Maybe that's why he did so well in the military, because he used speaking verbally slashed. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, my dad was a Navy SEAL. Knowing that my dad was a member of arguably the military's hardest occupation / job was always the coolest thing in the world to me. Even now, I still get chills. My dad seemed, and still seems to be, the most badass person ever, for lack of a better term. And that's no understatement. But anyway, growing up in a Christian household was always very interesting. No swearing, no yelling, and if you had a grudge, the only way to resolve it was to talk face to face with who you were at odds with. Church. Church was always there for me. I never really understood it though. Well, I understood it, but never really got the deeper meaning. At the time, we went to a church called Solid Rock, now known as Westside. It was always a friendly place and full of community. Our family was very involved. My mom would regularly watch over the kids' ministry, and my dad even got offered to be a chaplain or elder. It was a big deal for a church that size. There were a lot of people that went there, and my family knew a lot of them. For a while, I got to hang out with the kids while the big grown-ups got to listen to the service. While in the kids area, not to be confused with the little kids / kids ministry, I got to hang out with the leaders, talk to kids, play mini games, and eat fruit snacks and fruit leather. It was awesome. Then at some point, I grew up. My family would drop me and my older brother off at the church on Wednesdays, and we would attend the youth group. Don't get me wrong, it was fun, but it just fell off. We had some cool conversations there, but it was different without my parents in the building. I didn't really like it. I would try to avoid going to youth groups on Wednesdays by trying not to bring up the topic of church around family. This continued on for a while, and I just fell out of place. It was around 15 that I started to get gray in the religion area. I didn't understand it much, and I wouldn't go out of my way to read the Bible. It felt like months at a time I wouldn't open my Bible, and this went on for the next year or so. 17 and 18. Everything totally changed in my life when I was 17. We started going to a new church, Athey Creek. All of a sudden, everything clicked. I started to pray more, read my Bible, and would actively repent of my sins. This church totally changed my life, and I'm still going there today. I felt so much better about myself, and I was now understanding everything. When I turned 18, my life changed so much. 2023 was the most spiritual year of my entire life. Church was going great. I loved my family, and I was getting along with all my friends. During the summertime, I went to Young Life Camp. We got to stay in a place called Canyon. It was awesome. They took away our phones, so everyone would communicate more, and it was a great experience. By the end of the day, we practically had shin splints. We were going everywhere. We went to the pool and had a party with the entire camp, got to shoot hoops, work out in the gym, go on hikes, and go play games with others. On the last day of the week, around 200 kids gave their life to Jesus. We went to a pile of rocks, and everyone got to add one. The point of it was for people to write a problem they had been facing on the rock. We would then set them down onto the pile and pray together. That morning was one of the best moments of my life. Not only those moments, but the previous morning, half of our group hiked up Communication Hill. It was called that because of the communication tower located at the top. We hiked a super steep incline and finally reached the top. We were exhausted, but it was all worth it, when we saw the view. The sunrise just started gleaming over the horizon and would paint the entire canyon with a beautiful light. The mountains were painted over, and it was a very emotional experience. People were praying together and crying. I still remember when it was dark and everyone was talking, but when the sunrise appeared, it became quiet. It was incredible. Family. Family life had been going amazing. Our family had been getting along actively and going to church. We often had guests over, and that really blends our chemistry more. Celebrating the holidays is one of my favorite parts. Whether it's putting out pumpkins for Halloween, celebrating Easter, and even putting out tons of decorations for Christmas. We added a new addition to our family as of somewhat recently as well. For some backstory, we've had our older dog for about 7 years. In February of last year, we got a new pit bull that was a dog and a herding dog mix. We decided to name her Remy. We named her off of this gun manufacturer, Remington. She is crazy. Like, really crazy. Is always hyper, very barky, and super fast. However, the pros outweigh the cons. She is very soft, she likes to lay in bed with you, always licking you, and just really lovely. Both dogs often play fight and tend to get pretty loud, but it's entertaining to watch. It's like front row seats to a UFC fight. My dad is still a police officer, mom is doing good, and my brother is just about to finish his 2nd degree in college. We will often invite people to church as well. It's awesome. Everyone has been doing great. Future. I already know what I'm doing in the future. After school is done, I'm going to be joining the United States Air Force. It's been about 2 years that I've wanted to join, and I haven't changed that opinion at all along the way. Why go to a college or university and pay crazy money when you can get paid to shoot a gun? There's many reasons I want to go in, but the biggest is probably my patriotism and wanting to serve my country. Listen, we could talk all day about the government and its policies, but when it boils down to it, I just want to serve. Like I said earlier, my father was a Navy SEAL, and I guess I'm carrying on the military tradition in my family. As for what I want to do in the military, I want to join Special Warfare TAC-P in United States Air Force Special Warfare. Otherwise known as Special Operations, there are 4 jobs to choose from. These are the most difficult jobs in the entirety of the branch. The 4 jobs are CCT, which is Combat Control, PJ, which is Pararescue, TAC-P, which is Tactical Air Control Party, and SR, which is Special Reconnaissance. Each of these jobs has specific uses that are utilized by the United States Air Force. PJs are the best combat medics in the world. Their training is intense and they're deployed about everywhere. Combat control is best utilized in hazardous environments. They are there to control combat and lay out airstrips for planes to land on. SRs are there to get intel in combat. TAC-Ps, which I want to be, their job is essentially to blow stuff up. They get to call in airstrikes whenever they are authorized in a combat scenario. TAC-Ps are often deployed whilst being fully attached to an army platoon, sometimes even by Marines and SEALs. Future TAC-Ps have to go through the pipeline, a roughly 2-year course that makes sure that you're physically and mentally fit for the job. I'm super excited to enlist, and I'm trying to condition myself to be prepared before joining. The future is definitely uncertain, but I know I'll always have God on my side. Wherever I go or am faced with, I'll always remember that. Whether you're religious or not, you don't have to be afraid of the future. If you don't believe in a God, that's your choice. But I know what I believe in, and I know that He's watching over you as well.